Hello everyone. Today we're going to look at the cost function. The cost function, C of x, relates the cost per unit produced and sold and the number of units produced and sold, which we call x. The general formula for the cost function is vx+F. Now notice this is really just the slope-intercept form of a line. So v, which is really m, the slope, or the coefficient of x, is what's called the variable cost. So that's how much it costs to produce each unit of x. So things like material, labor, time, that type of stuff. And f, which is b, the y-intercept, is the fixed costs. So things like the rent or electricity, things that you have to pay no matter how many of the thing that you are producing. So we're going to graph the following cost functions. The first one is C of x equals 20x plus 2,000. So one way we could go about it is plot the y-intercept and then use the slope, just like we learned before. But our slopes here are typically going to be kind of high, and we don't want to have to count up 20 units to go over 1. So instead, what the book talks about is plotting the y-intercept, but then also taking a number that is twice the fixed cost. So in this case, twice 2,000, which would be 4,000, and plugging that in for C. So I'm going to replace C with twice this guy. And then I'm going to solve for x. So subtract your 2,000 over, and I should end up with my f because I have 2f minus f. Divide by 20. And if it comes out to be something nice, that's what we would really like to have here. So in this case we do. And then remember that any 2 points make a line. So I'm going to plot my y-intercept, 0, 2,000, and then my new point, x being 100, y or c being 4,000. So first I'm going to clear out my math here. And then I have to decide how I'm going to write my units up here. So I know that I have 0 and 2,000, and then I have 100, 4,000. I want to make sure that I get a lot of my line on this graph. I don't, for instance, want my graph to end up looking like this. Maybe something more like this, where it's taking up more of the space. Okay, so you want to keep that in mind when choosing your your intervals for your x and y axis. So let's get rid of those. So again, I have 2,000 and 4,000, so I'm just going to go by 1,000. So this one will be 2,000, 4,000, 6,000. And then I have 0 as one of my numbers because it's the y-intercept, and then I also have 100. And again, I don't want to put it too close to the beginning. I want to make sure that my picture is going to be nice. So I'm going to go by 25s. And I'm only going to label every other one because I don't have a lot of room. So when I plot my 2 points, I have the following: 0, 2,000, 4,000, 100. So that when I connect them, I have something that's going to cover a good amount of my graph. Okay, you always want to make sure your picture looks nice. Our next one is C of x equals 45x plus 9,000. So again, I'm going to plot the y-intercept, and then I'm going to plot a second point. And again, I'm going to double the y-intercept and plug that in for my c. So I'm going to have 18,000 equals 45x plus 9,000. Subtract 9,000. And then I'm going to divide by my 45. So I like to choose twice my b when I know that this spot is going to give me an integer. If it's not going to be an integer, then try to fool around with it. Maybe choose something higher or lower that could give you an integer for an answer, because we really don't like graphing things that aren't integers. So I take my 9,000 divide by 45, and I get a really nice 200. Okay, so again, I'm going to plot my 0, 9,000, and then also 200, 18,000. Okay, so again, I'm going to erase all of this now so that I have room to draw my picture. And again, I have to decide what I want to go by. So for my Y's, or my C's, I know I need 9,000 and I need 18,000. And again, I don't want that to be terribly high up. So I'm going to go by 5,000s. So this one's going to be 10. This one's going to be 20. And then I can guesstimate a little bit with the 9 and the 18, but they're going to be fairly close. And then for the X's, I'm going to go, I want 200 to be somewhere near the middle. So I'm going to go by 50s in this case. So that when I have my 2 points, I have 0, 9,000 right around there, and then 18,200 right around there. Again, it doesn't have to be exact, but make sure it makes sense. And then again, I will connect them with as straight a line as possible. Okay. Let's try another one. C of x equals 100x plus 150,000. So again, I'm going to plot my y-intercept, and I'm going to double my y-intercept and put that for C. So in that case, I have 300,000 equals 100x plus 150,000. It's kind of terrible. Subtract the 150,000 from both sides. Divide by 100, and that gives me, 1,500. And again, that's a really nice integer, so I'm going to keep with it. And then, again, I'm going to erase this so that I can draw it. But again, we're going to plot 0, 150,000 and 1,500, 300,000. So for my y direction, I'm going to go by 100,000. So this one's 100K. This one's going to be 300,000, and then 500,000. Okay, so I'm not labeling all of them because it gets a little messy, so I'm just labeling every other one. And then when it comes down to the x-axis, I'm going to go by 500s. So this one's 1,000, then 2,000, then 3,000. And then I've got my points. So again, 0, 150,000, that's right there. And then 1,500, 300,000. Is right around there. So I've got my points, and I've got my nice line going through it all. So just keep in mind you want your picture to look nice. Again, you want to make sure your graph is taking up all of the room that you can, and you want to make sure that your hash marks are equally spaced. So you don't want 2 of them to be 50 units apart and then 2 others to be 100 units apart. Right, so just keep those in mind. You want your graphs to make sense. Another thing we can do is find the equation. So find the equation for the cost function given the following. So for our first one, we're given a sentence. It costs $1,500, there should be dollar signs in there, $1,500 to make 20 benches, and making 50 benches cost $3,000. So what I want to do is I want to take those 2 pieces of information and get 2 points out of it. So it costs $1,500 to make 20 benches. So remember, the units are x and the dollars is cost. So my first phrase, it costs $1,500 to make 20 benches, gives me the point 20, 1,500. The second sentence, making 50 benches costs $3,000, is the point 50, comma 3,000. And we've done this before. I know how to take 2 points and make an equation. So I'm going to take my 2 points first and find the slope. So remember, that is the difference in y's over the difference in x's. And if I take 3,000 minus 1,500 and divide it by 30, 50 minus 20, I'm going to get out 50. So this is my slope, which again in this case is my v, is my variable cost. And then I'm going to take one of my 2 points and put this into point slope form. So c, because that's what it is instead of y, c minus one of my points, I'm going to choose this guy. So c minus 3,000 equals 50, my slope, minus 50, the x value. And then from there, we're going to simplify it. So distribute the 50, add the 3,000 over, and we should be getting 50x plus 500. Okay? So it's the same as what we were doing before, just now we know what the points are representing. Another thing we can do is we can find the equation given the graph. So this is going to be the same type of thing. I'm going to take from the graph 2 points and then use those 2 points to create my equation. So my first point is given to me, 30, 800. The other point I want to use is the y-intercept. So again, we're going to start with the slope. So the difference in y is 800 minus 400 over 30 minus 0. That gives me 400 divided by 30. We are going to round this to 2 decimal places. 1333. Remember, it is a dollar amount, so 2 decimal places make sense. So that's my slope, and then I need either the y-intercept to put it into slope-intercept form, or another point to put it into point-slope form. However, I am given the y-intercept, so I want to use that. So my cost function is my slope times x plus my y-intercept. And to make it look a little nicer, 13.33x plus 400. Okay, so make sure you read through the book, try out the homework, and let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.